another late night just driving. We'd only gotten our licenses a couple months ago at that point, so, any excuse to just speed up and down the highways was good enough for us, even if we had to be up for another day of high school the next day. So we're in the car, trading childhood stories, and this topic of unexplainable memories comes up somehow. Noah's in the backseat, retelling ghost stories from his summer camp days, and Josh swears he remembers this old cartoon that we can't find any mention of on Google. But finally, it's my turn, and I got a good one. I remember going to some mall or something when I was a really little kid, like maybe 3 or 4 years old. Some big building in the middle of nowhere that had this outside wall painted like the sky, and the inside is just bizarre. So all the walls and decorations are just like this colorful mess of stuff. I asked my mom about it one time and she said she doesn't remember anything like that, so I figured I imagined the whole thing. I'm talking about this like it's not even real, and Josh is looking at me with wide eyes. He asked me, "The one with the playground, right?" All of a sudden, my focus is not on the road. It's on the fact that Josh also remembers the weird playground with the weird architecture from the weird mall that I thought I imagined as a kid. I nod, and he tells me, "Dude, that's not imaginary. That's..."
St. Louis Outlet Mall in Hazelwood is closing. Mall, formerly known as the St. Louis Mills Mall, opened in 2003 and it cost an estimated $250 million. Speculation is that land could be sold to a local group planning to build a massive 135-acre sports complex.
We are just in the middle of nowhere, Midwest Missouri, and we have nothing but a highway that's leading us to a shopping mall that may or may not even still exist. It's a really weird situation to be in. And speaking of that may or may not still exist part, you gotta keep in mind that I have no idea what this place even looks like. I was so young at the time that all I really remember is this outside wall painted like the sky. Josh can't even remember that part, but he says the rest of the place is painted and decorated with some pretty vibrant colors, so the sky thing doesn't sound that out of place. There, off on the side of the highway, is a massive, sprawling thing in the distance. There's a surprisingly busy parking lot as we pull up, and it's all centered around this one furniture store. We follow the people into this place, and I'm thinking to myself, this doesn't really look that abandoned. Like, we just put in all this work and this is a still open mall. But my excitement didn't last very long, because as we were wandering in the small store, we start to notice that where the exits to the rest of the mall should have been are these big foam barricades. So I'm still hoping for the best, and I ask one of the employees, but she tells me that the whole mall is closed. Say they're one of the only stores left, and even they're about to close soon. We're on our way out when I notice that all the cars in this parking lot are centered around this one store, but there's like 90% of the mall left to see, and the whole parking lot stretching around it. We pile back in and make this trip around the exterior. I'm taking in this mess of colors and decorations that's just drowning out the outside walls. We see these shattered windows, broken lights, and half-demolished go-kart track outside the rest of the mall that's pretty much rotting away at this point. I make notice of two important things. One, there's this missing section in the fence surrounding the go-kart area, and two, there's this alcove of wall created by the layout that's just in front of us. Two sections of the building are sticking out, and it's obscuring this one wall in between them. So we pull up the car to this hidden wall, and I swear I knew it was going to be there before we even saw it. I get out of the car, stare at this hidden section of the building, and staring right back at me is this massive mural of the sky that spans the entirety of the wall. Everything I remembered about this place that my parents told me I imagined was not just real, but having a staring contest with me in a parking lot. I approach the automatic doors. They're locked, of course. But I look through the glass, and there it is. It's the silhouette of a playground inside the mall.
Oh my god, I cannot believe I used to be able to stand in there. That I wish I could go in there right now. Slide down the slide.
But it was still a big discovery. My friends and I note that even if it's abandoned, the mall is still completely intact on the inside, so maybe there is a way in. Call security, nobody picks up. Call mall management, nobody picks up. These phone numbers are dead, and the only option that leaves us is to get our gear together again and set out one more time to see if we can get any new information or possible entrances that we didn't see the first time. One 20-minute drive to the middle of nowhere again, and we're back at the mall. And This time, we got our sights set on the one missing section of the fence in the go-kart area that we saw last time. Now, the chances of there being an entrance to the main mall is pretty slim since this was a mainly outdoor area, but there's some smaller maintenance sheds and things like that which could have something cool, who knows. We make our way back to this huge missing fence section. There's no signs, no tape, no cones, no nothing, it's just open. I was next to the actual go-kart track. There is this little maintenance shed. We tried the door, and we're amazed when it actually opens. Now this whole place was super creepy. It was like completely trashed by somebody. There's business cards and tools all over the floor. It's just totally ransacked.
This is abandoned. Look at the floor. Oh, yo. This never got erased.
Are you sure you don't want to see the business files, guys?
Customer
We're
service.
rooting through the junk on the floor when we hear it. That unmistakable sound of a car pulling up outside. Okay, now, I don't want to say that we got scared and ran away, because that sounds super lame. I mean, for all we know, this was just some random maintenance guy, or like maybe just some random person in their car that got lost in the parking lot. You can think of what we did as just moving in a hurry, because again, it would be super lame to say that we ran away. The expedition wasn't a total bust. I mean, we booked it back to the car and we floored it out of the parking lot before even getting the chance to look around for anything else, but really, it just seemed like seeing the inside of the mall was becoming more trouble than it was worth. I figured it was just best to leave it at this. No send-off or return would make up for the disappointment of not just giving up on the expedition, but for me, giving up on the closure for this weird childhood memory. With the renovation of the place just around the corner, Josh and I agreed that we would leave the exploration behind and maybe just visit it after it became a sports complex. With school in full swing, the mall was the last thing on my mind as I scrolled through my phone on some random Thursday. I don't even remember what I was looking at when a post on the Dead Mall subreddit caught my eye. These were pictures of inside the mall, taken recently, with the phone blockades completely gone. Recently that really bank on that feeling of nostalgia for a place that you've never been. But what about when you actually have been? That's what walking these hallways felt like to me. In about 2 years, I went from thinking this childhood memory was imaginary to seeing it with my own eyes. And hell, I'm glad it was completely empty when we actually got inside. And it felt personal. It felt like the mall took a day off from being closed just for me, so I could see it one last time before it became unrecognizable. But most importantly, it felt like my longtime childhood mystery was finally solved. I walked around that playground for the first time in 12 years and realized that after an entire lifetime of doubting whether or not it was even real, I would probably be the last person who ever got to use it. Even though I'd gotten my closure, a small part of me wished that the renovations wouldn't happen. You know, maybe something would change and dumb luck, the sports complex never gets the chance to fully replace the mall. What I never expected was for my wish to actually come true, in like a weird, messed up type of way. Plans for the sports complex totally fell through sometime during my first year off at college. I didn't even really know about it until my friends and I decided to take a trip back to the mall 2 years after our exploration, just to see it again. We're expecting this thriving sports facility that all the security guards and articles promised us, but instead all we saw was this big, boring business complex. The colorful walls were this monotone shade of gray and black. The parking lot sculptures were just gone, and the inside was completely gutted, just turned into this series of offices. Like, I'll say this, a sports complex felt like the natural evolution of what the mall was and what it meant to a lot of people. Instead of the place growing into something new and fun, it was just a corporate business park in the same shape. So, some of you probably watched that and were thinking, well, that was kind of pointless, that was kind of corny. And like, yeah, but it's my pointless, corny childhood memory. And I think that everyone has one of those. You know, maybe it's one even your own parents told you to your face wasn't real. But if it feels real to you, then I think it's worth looking into, and it's worth chasing the experience again. And even if my mall never got its happy ending, the fact that it didn't is sad and it is frustrating, but it does make it all the more worth it that I put my time and my effort into making that last trip.